The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Well, I'm excited about tonight's episode and next week's episode because tonight we're going to add to our tradition of talking about creepy Christmas creatures from around the world. And next week, also, in keeping with tradition, we're going to tell some spooky ghost stories just for Christmas.
That's going to be a great episode. And by the time this episode drops, there'll be only 7 days till Santa comes.
I know.
Or Krampus for some of you out there, I'm sure.
Aw. And we'd also talked about perhaps trying to get the spooky stories episode out on Christmas Eve. So we might try for that. But if not, it'll be Christmas Day.
Well, it'll be a perfect episode for Christmas Eve.
Yes.
I mean, and then you can sleep in the next morning if you get any sleep after this episode.
Well, we're really talking it up.
It better be good.
I know. No pressure. And since we promised last week that everyone would get to hear your sweet voice.
I know.
Tell your story first this week. I'm going to be a sweet wife, and I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, and I can't wait to tell everyone about my creepy Christmas creature, Hans Trapp, since he's a Christmas cannibalistic scarecrow that rides around on a black horse looking for naughty children to eat.
That's a doozy.
It's a mouthful for me.
The Christmas cannibalistic scarecrow.
Yes.
That's terrifying just saying it.
So, get comfy, dim the lights, maybe cuddle up with your loved one, and I'm going to tell you all about my creature tonight. I want you all to try and imagine being a child in France or Germany at Christmas time. Maybe you got into a fight with your sister or brother, and your parents sent you to your room. Now imagine yourself sitting on your bed and looking out your window. It gets dark so early in the winter that even though it's only 8 o'clock at night, it's pitch black outside. Clouds cover the moon and stars. As you sit there, you hear this strange sound. At first, it's just this hollow sounding, but fast-paced clopping sound. But as it gets closer, you realize that it's the sound of a giant horse. Now, curious as to why someone would be riding a horse through your neighborhood at night? You get up from your bed and you move closer to the window. All of a sudden, the horse comes into view. It's a monstrous black stallion, and as it rears up on its hind legs just outside your window, you jump back. Because it's not just the horse that's terrifying, it's the figure riding it that really makes your blood run cold. Sitting on the horse is the scariest thing you have ever seen. A gaunt scarecrow with sunken eyes. You can see the straw poking out from its shirt and pants, and your brain just can't make sense of how a scarecrow could somehow be tied to a horse with it sitting upright like that. But then, the realization comes to you It's not some normal scarecrow made of nothing but straw and old clothes. It's actually a living, breathing creature that has come to get you. And something about the way that it's staring at you makes your blood turn cold. Just by the way it's looking at you, the creepy way it stares at you, you have the overwhelming feeling that this creature plans to kill you and eat you. Known as Hans Trapp, this scarecrow with a taste for human flesh is actually based on a real person, which makes him even more terrifying. So, to begin, I have to go back to the year 1450, to the border between France and Germany. According to moonmausoleum.com and usghostadventures.com, there was a German knight named Hans von Trotha who lived in Berwenstein Castle. Von Trotha was incredibly wealthy, and therefore he was quite powerful. But he gained his wealth in terrible ways and was considered both greedy and ruthless, to the point that everyone who came in contact with him was pretty much afraid of him. Rumors swirled that he practiced black magic and was in league with the devil, which was how he continued to be so wealthy and powerful. Now, at some point, von Trotha got into an argument about land rights with the abbot of Weisenberg. The abbot claimed that one of von Trotha's castles actually belonged to the church. Von Trotha argued that it was given to him fair and square. In a rage, von Trotha ordered that a dam be built, cutting off the main water supply to the town. The people living in the town were obviously suffering from this, and the abbot sent word to the Pope about what von Trotha had done. The Pope stepped in and summoned von Trotha to Rome, but von Trotha refused to go. Instead, he sent a letter to the Pope, filled with accusations and vile names. The Pope reacted by excommunicating von Trotha, which meant that he also lost all of his land and titles. Von Trotha was so pissed off that he removed the dam, but he did it in a way that flooded the entire town of Weisenberg, causing horrible destruction. And this is where the legend of Hans Trapp, the cannibalistic scarecrow, was born. In reality, von Trotha was ordered to return to the French court, where he lived out his remaining years until his death in 1503. His descendants only lasted about 40 years before all dying off. But the legends say that von Trotha didn't go to court at all. Instead, he found himself banished to the dark woods of Germany, where he spent the rest of his years as a bitter and lonely man. First, he built himself a ramshackle hut in the mountains, and much like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, von Trotha stewed in his rage and greed until he slowly became something not quite human anymore. Wanting nothing but revenge for all the ways that he had been wronged, von Trotha became less and less human, until one day he pulled on his raggedy clothes, stuffed his shirt and pants with straw, and hid in a field, just waiting for someone to come by. Eventually, someone did, a 10-year-old shepherd boy. Von Trotha attacked the boy, impaling him with a stick. Then he carried the child back to his hovel, cut him up into pieces, and got ready to boil him in a cauldron over an open fire out in his yard so he could eat him. But just as he was about to sink his teeth into his gruesome meal, a bolt of lightning came down from the sky, striking von Trotha dead on the spot. And yet, von Trotha continued his terrible reign of dressing up like a scarecrow and hunting children to eat, because now he was an evil spirit that people called Hans Trapp. Hans Trapp was blamed for all kinds of things throughout the Alsace and Lorraine regions of France and bordering regions of Germany. But somehow he got tied to St. Nicholas in a way similar to Krampus. Some legends say that St. Nicholas happened to be passing by when Hans Trapp was struck by lightning, tying them together in a good and evil partnership. But regardless, at Christmas time, Hans Trapp rides his black horse dressed in his terrifying scarecrow costume, looking for naughty children. If a naughty child is lucky, Hans Trapp will simply appear in the hopes of scaring them into behaving. But if the child isn't so lucky, or maybe if they're really, really naughty, Hans Trapp will set his sights on them and remember them so that he can snatch them up for his Christmas meal.
Jeez.
Hans Trapp, the Christmas cannibal scarecrow, has to be one of the creepiest Christmas creatures I've ever heard of. But in case you want more, Beth has one for you after this short break.
That is terrifying.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And especially since, the actual guy, even though it sounds like he was kind of a jerk, lived out the rest of his life and died a normal death. But
Right.
They've made all these legends about him.
I prefer the legends.
I know. But it is creepy. It's like a headless horseman kind of thing. But
It really is, isn't
worse.
it? Yeah. But, as I had mentioned before, Beth is going to get to her creepy creature right after this quick break.
Hey, did you know? Christmas Day 1938 in Harlan, Kentucky was a somber day. All of the miners who worked for the Black Mountain Coal Company had been told, after forming a strike, that all of their homes were being torn down and they would all be displaced on January 1st. But at midnight, a lone figure carrying a lantern walked down the streets of the town, knocking on each and every door. It was the company superintendent, Mr. James Caldwell, and to everyone's surprise, he came with a Christmas gift. He had purchased the entire camp with his own money. He handed each and every miner's family a deed to their house, telling them that they now owned their homes, free and clear. By morning, the entire camp had gathered to sing Christmas carols in the center of town, which today is known as Colgood, Kentucky. Who'd have thunk it?
And those deeds are displayed in the Colgood, Kentucky Community Center.
They're still there.
Isn't that just remarkable?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a feel-good story, which we needed after the cannibalistic scarecrow.
I love my story.
I know. And I do have a second creepy Christmas creature to talk about, but mine is not a cannibal that goes after children. Mine is actually a creepy horse creature that basically helped people get access to alcohol.
Oh, imagine that. If you had a horse that you could just send down to the liquor store to get your booze for you. I wouldn't have to leave the house so much.
Well, that's not exactly how it works, but that is an idea.
Well, whether it works that way or not, it's a great idea. That just popped into my mind.
Around here, you'd have to do a moose or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A deer.
A deer.
Well, perhaps a beaver, because those little buggers are already busy down here at the river.
Are they?
Yeah, they're dropping trees.
Well, anyway. If you've been to any Christmas parades lately, you may have noticed Krampus being part of the festivities because he's enjoyed a resurgence in the last 20 years, for sure. But you also may have noticed a white horse's skull decorated with ribbons or long pieces of ivy. Its eye sockets might be lit up, or filled in with sparkling baubles or pieces of glass. The skull is attached to a pole, which controls its jaw so that it can open and close in a menacing way. The rest of the creature is nothing more than a white cloak or a white sheet, hiding the human underneath who is carrying the whole skull contraption.
That was great, dear. A skull contraption?
A skull contraption. Contraption. You may have even asked yourself, what the heck is that creepy thing? Well, that thing is the Mari Lwyd, which is commonly mispronounced as the Mari Lwyd. It comes from both North and South Wales. But as you can imagine, this scary horse skeleton character isn't new at all. It's been around for at least 200 years. The Mari Lwyd skull hasn't always been an actual skull. Sometimes it's made from wood or paper. But in some cases, like in the Gower Peninsula, the Mari Lwyd skull was buried underground all year round until it was dug up just for Christmas time. But in most cases, the Mari Lwyd skull was kept in a closet until it was needed. According to hornimanAC.uk, the first time the Mari Lwyd was ever mentioned in writing wasn't until the year 1800, when author J. Evans wrote about it in his book, A Tour Through Part of North Wales. As far as anyone knows, it's a mystery as far as how long the Mari Lwyd tradition existed or how it ever got its name. Roughly translated into English, it means gray mare, which some historians think must tie to the tradition to various references to pale horses in Celtic mythology that could travel between the worlds of the living and the dead. Rhiannon, the queen of the underworld, often rides a white or pale gray horse. But there's also the camp that believes that Mari Lwyd translates to Holy Mary, and therefore it's tied to the Virgin Mary. But then there's the third camp that believes that the Mari Lwyd has a direct tie to a horse in the Nativity. The story is that when Mary and Joseph arrived at the manger, there was a pregnant horse already there. This pregnant horse was sent away to make room for the birth of Jesus, and this horse had to roam the countryside looking for somewhere else to birth her foal.
That doesn't sound like something Jesus would do.
I know.
It's like those Hobby Lobby prices. Would Jesus really condone these prices at Hobby Lobby?
What the heck? Wow, I guess it's been on your mind, huh?
Every time I walk in there, I'm saying, what would Jesus think of these prices? It's true.
Oh, I know. You tell me every time we walk in there. Either way, for all of you that are still willing to listen to us, the Mari Lwyd is meant to be a female horse skull. According to folk.wales, in some villages in Wales, a group of 4 to 7 men would dress up in their very best clothes and gather on Christmas Eve. They'd attach brightly colored ribbons or rosettes to their outfits, and some even tied a bright sash around their waists. The leader or sergeant of the group carried a staff or a stick, or maybe even a whip. The merry man would play some sort of instrument. It was important to hide your true identity, so in the earlier years, the men would all blacken their faces. And the group usually included Punch and Judy characters, too. They typically wore ragged clothes and acted out just like the well-known English puppets. The Punch character would be aggressive and violent in a slapstick sort of way, and the character of Judy would take the brunt of his anger. Punch carried a metal fire iron, and Judy often carried a traditional broom. And of course, the group included the Mari Lwyd. As soon as dusk fell, the group would walk to either the nearest house or the nearest pub. They'd knock on the door and wait. As soon as the door opened, a battle of wits would begin between Mari Lwyd and the person who opened the door. If the skull was attached to a lever, the man operating her would make sure her jaw moved up and down as she sang. Because these battles of wit were done entirely in verse and song. And because they were often composed right on the spot, very few were ever written down. But traditionally, the Mari Lwyd would begin like this. In Welsh, of course, not English. Well, here we come, innocent friends, to ask leave, to ask leave, to ask leave to sing. Most of the time, the group was denied right off the bat, and the back and forth of witty rhyming verses and insults would begin.
It's kind of like a rap battle.
It's exactly like that.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Except with a horse skull going up and down with its jaw going.
Oh yeah, I can picture it.
So, of course, they'd try to outdo each other. And as the back and forth continued, the verses got more and more raunchy and insulting. Eventually, the people in the house or the pub would give in, and the Mari Lwyd and its band of merry men would be let inside. The Mari Lwyd would run around the room, neighing and snapping its jaws, both trying to scare any of the children who might be there and any bad spirits that might still be lingering. The leader, or the sergeant, would pretend to restrain Mari Lwyd, as it basically caused havoc within the room, especially when it came to chasing any young, available women. Because although the Mari Lwyd was supposed to be female, it's all men playing the parts.
Well, that doesn't seem right.
It's the way it was. The merry man would play his instrument the entire time, and when the party became super loud and chaotic, they would eventually be rewarded with food, usually some sort of cake, and wassail, which, by the way, was the main reason for being in the Mari Lwyd group. You eventually got free booze. Wassail was traditionally a mulled ale made with sugar, spices, curdled cream, roasted apples, and eggs.
It kind of sounds like eggnog in a way.
Kind of, although the curdled cream with the egg, Yeah, I guess it is like eggnog. I didn't think about that when I first heard about it because I thought it sounded gross, but I do love some eggnog.
That you do. You just picked up some tonight.
I know.
Been wanting it all week.
I know. But wassail was typically made by the wealthier folks in town. And if you were in need of a good drink at Christmas time, you'd want to go wassailing as much as possible. However, it was poured into bowls that were passed around the room and shared by several people, unless you brought your own bowl with you.
Oh my God, instead of bringing your own beer, you brought your own bowl.
You brought your own bowl. As you can imagine, in later years, the wassail was eventually replaced with individual glasses of just regular ale. Once the group had its fill at one house or pub, Mari Lwyd would lead her gaggle of probably tipsy men to the next house or pub. This cycle could go on for hours. As you can imagine, the church wasn't too thrilled with the Mari Lwyd tradition, and the groups found themselves blamed for drunkenness and vandalism more and more. There was even one minister who published a book called The Religion of the Dark Ages, in which he printed 20 verses of a Mari Lwyd banter that shocked everyone who read it. And so, the tradition died out. Sort of. In the following years, the Mari Lwyd groups would still offer their original first verse, but then they'd resort to traditional Christmas carols after that, foregoing the insults. And yeah, they'd still get their free booze. This new variation of the Mari Lwyd survived well into the 1930s, but by the 1960s, it had pretty much faded out, except for pockets here and there where there were towns that still did it, but it was rare. For about 30 years, there wasn't much Mari Lwyd wassailing going on at all. And then, in the 1990s, the tradition resurfaced, at least in Wales and some other parts of Great Britain. But there was already a similar tradition in England that also featured a group of merry men, a horse, and asking for free alcohol. From around 1700 to the early 1900s, there were villages in England that practiced hodening at Christmas time, when farmers would also dress up and carry a wooden horse from house to house or pub to pub, singing and playing instruments in hopes of being allowed inside. Once indoors, one of the men would try to mount the wooden horse for comical effect, and another man dressed up as a woman would chase the females in the house with a broom. It was basically the same kind of chaos and bawdiness as the Mari Lwyd in Wales, with the same reward: food and drink.
And perhaps you got lucky.
Maybe. There's also some mystery as to how this tradition, the hodening, started as well, and some historians think that it's tied to Odin, because it's hodening and Odin. But regardless, if you happen to see a white horse skull draped in a white cloak in your next Christmas parade or town celebration, you now know what it's all about. And if you're feeling generous, you could always offer her your bowl of wassail.
Oh my God. I have so much to say.
Uh-oh.
But I know I can't say any of it.
Oh, I was going to say brace yourself, everybody.
It won't make the episode anyways, because you'll make me cut it all out.
Yeah. Well, I do that sometimes.
Quite a bit.
Well, you sometimes go a little too far. I knew as soon as I said that one of them would try to mount the wooden horse that you were like across from me, just holding back as much as you could.
I know. I couldn't take it. I had to turn my head away. I didn't want to ruin it for you. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode.
And if you would like to know more about Hans Trapp or the Mari Lwyd or hodening, you can always check our sources in our show notes.
Join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Our Minds Wander.
See you then. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, Please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.